Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rochester Real Estate Show. My name is Shane Allen, and yes, I have taken over for Jason Mancuso. We made the executive decision that we need the host to be younger but fatter. So here we are. We're from the Anthony Butera Team. I'm sitting down here with James Ashbery, agent extraordinaire for the Anthony Butera Team, here with Keller Williams. This podcast, we're going to be talking about the top 5 most Googled questions by buyers in 2025. But before we get into that, James did a comedy show last night at Comedy at the Carlson for Rochester Real Producers. Shout out to them. It was an all-realtor lineup, and it was an all-realtor audience. It was all for charity for IACKids. We raised a bunch of money. I'm not sure the exact total, but I'm sure it was millions.
That's awesome. Yeah, millions and millions.
And I think I was talking to you about it. I was dreading it pretty hardcore because I didn't know what an audience of all realtors was going to be like. And I got to say, it changed my perspective of Rochester realtors in general because they were so nice and they were a great audience, great laughers. And they were like rooting for us, it felt like. So that was cool.
That is awesome. Yeah, and you always wonder, too, like, how am I going to hold an attention span of any realtor in any room, especially multiple, because you know their phones are still on, they're buzzing, they're vibrating.
Yeah.
Maybe they turned them off just to be respectful. I don't know, but that's great.
There was a few of them in the front row that were literally, like, I could see them writing rejection texts to other agents, like, hey, by the way, you didn't get this house. Yes. So I could see it happening in the front row. I think I actually got a couple calls like that while I was on stage. But, yeah, it was insane because the lineup was it was 6 of us that did it, and I was the only one that had done comedy before. So 5 realtors in town went up there, did 10-minute sets.
That's a long time for people that don't have experience.
Super long time. It was sold out, so it was like over 200 people in Comedy at the Carlson, which is like one of the premier comedy clubs,
for sure.
If not in New York, like the country.
It is. It's huge.
And so to have that be your first show, it takes a lot of cojones. So
yeah.
Shout out to them.
You're standing in a room with like A-list talent comes through, right? And you're on stage in front of a packed house, which A-list talent does. And you're given 10 minutes, which 30 seconds, if you've never done stand-up at all, 30 seconds can be forever. Like you get up there, you forget your name usually because 100%. You're so nervous. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, so shout out to that. Also, just wanted real quick, before we get into things, I just want to call out the Rochester Subreddit. I'm a lurker. I'm always on there, and it seems like once a week, it's like the same post, and I'm sure this is also in like every like Facebook group, local Facebook group as well. So I wanted to get your comments on this, James. It's people that are just getting into the market, and they are blown away by the cost of homes, which it is. That is like the toughest thing, I think, for buyers is squaring the whole list price versus sales price here in Rochester. Yeah. Because this market has been on fire since, like 2020?
Yeah, COVID.
So it's become this bidding situation where everything is listed low to go, right? And so people are just always blown away by that. But it's just, we're now 5 years deep into this. And not to call out these people because I'm not going to victim blame them, but I guess I'm just calling out their agents after I just gave a compliment to all the agents in town for being good laughers.
Not those guys, right?
But I just feel like you guys, if we're still seeing these posts now, it's like our agents just not preparing their buyers properly enough for what this is like.
That is such a good point to make because, yes, to this day, people are still – and you know what I hear too is – well, why would I pay more than it's listed for? That's absurd. And then you have to back up like, well, who were you working with before that didn't talk about this? Because recently I just got someone who was like, man, we were driving around to all these houses. We never got an offer accepted. And I still don't know. Why would you start so low if you're expecting that much more? Why don't you just start there? So it's like they're not being prepped. You know, not everybody. I'm sure there are good agents out there like us. Come on, in our team.
For sure.
But it feels like they're just under. And it has been 5 years. Like who's not talking to you about the market? How are you not understanding? Like, well, this is just a starting point, and it's got to be below market value because you want it to go up higher than that. Whereas and we're starting to see it now, if you price a little too high, people aren't going to come and make an offer because they think they're going to have to bid. Still to this day.
Yeah, that's just the reality of the market. And like, it's one of those things where what they call it, the transparent pricing.
Yep.
Right? More and more agents are trying it, which is like we're listing the home at where we actually would accept a price, even though it seems like they still want more. But then what happens is those homes stay on the market. They don't sell in the week that is the average right now for homes to be on the market. So it's just one of those things where it's like I just feel like maybe it's our fault as agents. We're not doing a better job of getting the press release out to everybody in town. But like I know that our agents on this team do a great job of being like, hey, just so you know, here is what the houses around this house have been selling for. Check out the list versus sales price. It is tough. It does feel like I completely understand. The sticker shock is crazy.
Yep. When
you see homes are selling for $100,000 over, and that is not an irregularity. That's like the norm. It's like it's crazy.
And it's in pockets too. So it's maybe not as intense in some places, but it's still happening. Let's be honest, like the east side of Monroe County, that's pretty standard. Like if you want to go there, you got to be willing to swing. And I would say to your point about we do a good job of prepping buyers to understand that. We do. Like that's part of the training. We have to go through what I talked with the client last night. It's like the difficult conversation of this is the reality of what it takes to get a house accepted. It's not me being anything different than what the facts are. Like, here's all the data. This is what it's taking. This house sold for this much higher over listing price, etc. So if you don't do that with a client right up front, then you are going to end up frustrated, and your clients are going to be frustrated because they're just going to drive around and see house after house after house, and they're going to write offer after offer after offer, and they're going to lose faith in the agent. They're going to get frustrated with the market. Whereas if the agent just took time up front to say, hey, this is what you got to do, and at the end of the day, if they're not comfortable with that, then the hard part of the next conversation is maybe this isn't the right time to be looking for a house. Yeah. But if it is, this is what we have to do, and we're going to be able to help you do that. It's like trust the process, right? Coach McDermott, come on, everybody says it, but seriously, trust the process. We'll let you know what's going on. But yes, the reality is the market is still tough, but it's been 5 years, to your point, so it's not changing any. I hated hearing this during COVID, but the new normal, right?
Yeah.
It kind of became the new normal. Now This is what it is. Rates aren't going back down to 3.5% unless there's some kind of pandemic again. So people are saying we're waiting for rates to drop. What does that mean? Like, what are you waiting for them to drop to? So this is the new normal. We're going to do everything we can to get you prepped for that and get you a house.
Yeah. So let's get into it. These are the top 5 most Googled questions by buyers. James, number 1.
Oh, boy.
Or should I start with number 5? That's how countdowns work, right?
Yeah. If you picked them out, that means by 5 you were probably like, oh, I'll just grab any random one. So they'll be the easy ones.
If I was a better host, I'd start with 5 and we'd go to 1, right?
Yeah.
All right. So number 5, what is the credit score needed to buy a house? So this one, right, this is more of a question for your lender, I'd say.
I would say so too, because that does come up a lot. And, we could Google and get an answer for that. But honestly, we're going to put you in touch with a good lender, right? If you have one, great. We're going to recommend someone that's local that we work with that has an amazing track record and is a gold standard here, which is Premium Mortgage, right? I don't know if we're going to have to cut that out, but that's the reality. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to meet with them. They're going to explain, not just tell you the number, but if you're not there, explain everything you need to do to get there, come up with a plan to help you get there. And that's the basis for any financial question. We could give you a very high level, but if we're doing our job right, and I believe it's the fiduciary duty, as it's called, if you check that off on the test, we've got to remember that definition. Mm-hmm. But if we're doing our duty, we're going to put you in touch with the right professional who has all those answers and can get you where you need to be financially. And you're going to have follow-up questions to that, right, that we're probably not going to be able to answer accurately, but someone in that field can. Same with legal questions, right? We're not attorneys. We're going to point you to the right person. With credit score and financing, definitely going to put you in touch with a really, really, really good lender to answer those questions for you.
And I think with credit score, too, this is a conversation you want to be having, I would say, a year in advance of what you're looking to home, even more than that, honestly. Like, this is not like this is something for credit building. It takes a while to do, and there are people we can put you in touch with to start building up that credit if you're not where you want to be for the the loan type that you want or the rate that you want to get. Credit credit score is really important. There's different services. I think even in Rochester right now, I was reading about, being able to use your rent as a way to help your credit score.
Yep.
Different services to be in touch with, but it's one of those things where the reality of the market, what we were talking about, you want to start working on things as far in advance as you can, just to be as competitive as possible.
Yep, and that's too like a misconception is, I'll just pay my bills on time and we'll get there. When you meet with a lender, they're going to tell you exactly what you have to do. And yes, the further ahead you start that, the better. But it's also like, don't just assume because it's a year now and you're going to make payments or whatever the case might be that you're thinking, have that time to do exactly what needs to be done to improve the credit score, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's going to be a specific plan laid out for you. All of the steps might not be what you were thinking. So it's best to start with someone who knows what they're talking about and keeps you on the right plan.
This one's going to be, this is more of a long one, but I guess we'll try to keep this as short as possible. Number 4. What are the steps to buying a home?
Well, let's go on Zillow and just blindly look at the nicest houses you can find, right? So set your expectations that high. Mm-hmm. All joking aside with that, the first step, the most important step, which is often not considered because everyone is going to Zillow first. They want to see everything that they love. Oh, this is perfect. This is just what we want. And then when they get to the actual first step that they should have taken, they're like, oh my God, this is depressing. This is not what we were expecting. Go to a bank, talk to a lender, get pre-approved first, right? The emotional thing is to go onto Zillow or any website and start looking at houses and just fall in love with, 7 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms and a pool. But the reality is if you don't know you can afford that, then you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed. So the sooner that you can talk to a lender, the better. You're going to have all the information you need. You're going to know exactly what you can afford. And then when you meet with a good agent, they're going to set you up on the right search. So you're looking at the right houses. You can have realistic expectations, but you can't start that until you talk to a lender. So that's always number one. If someone's come to me and they haven't done that, I just say, hey, we got to take a step back and find out where we're at financially, because at the end of the day, you have to have the money to buy the house. So you want to make sure you're focused with where you're looking.
Yeah.
My opinion.
No, for sure. Yeah, that's if you don't know what you can afford, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And then we have different buyers info that we can send to you from the team if you really are looking for the exact steps. That we have maps and road maps and all the good stuff for the exact steps. There's a lot that goes into buying a home, but I think James touched on it, that's the most important step is getting with your lender, finding the one that works for you, shopping around, and then reaching out to an agent and finding somebody that you trust and is going to be honest with you and somebody that you feel comfortable walking in a vacant home with. That's
huge. You got to feel comfortable being alone with someone in, where there's doors that you can close and lock.
Yeah, I mean, there are Ring cameras on most of these homes now, but, you want to be safe.
You want to be safe.
How much should I save for a down payment? Number 3.
Whew, man, we're getting back to let's go talk to a lender so you get the exact amount right. Like so high level right now, before I say like, hey, let's just talk to a lender, is make sure you're going to be comfortable, right? Because everyone says you don't want to buy a house and be house poor, right? So if you don't have a budget, you're going to want to set one up. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to want to talk with someone who can help you set up a budget so you know what to expect. And this is where it's going to come with closing costs. How do you even know how much closing costs are going to be, right? You have to talk to a lender, let them know the price range that you're qualified for, and they're going to tell you exactly, Shane, these are your closing costs for this house. Let's create a budget now to find out, not only are you buying the house, okay, great, you have money to pay for those closing costs, but after that, do you have money to put in a new couch or get a television, or hey, the hot water heater just went within your first 2 months of having a house, because something always goes wrong when you first move into a house, right? So you have the money for the closing costs, but do you have money to live, to buy groceries after that? Mm-hmm. So that's what I would say. Like, yes, know in your head that you have to save money for closing costs and extra, but find out from a lender exactly what those closing costs are going to be.
Yeah. It's one of those questions where basically the answer is as much as humanly possible.
Exactly.
But it comes down to, okay, what's your situation like? You have to move. What's your timeline? Then that, we're up against a time crunch. You guys have saved as much as you can. If you want like a goal number, I guess the gold standard and what traditionally it was 20%. And that's strictly because there are lenders in town that have like a cash guarantee, right? Where if you put down the 20%, you can put in an offer that's essentially as good as cash.
Yep. Or better, depending on who you're using.
Yeah.
Yep.
There are other, lenders that do less, but that's like, that's one of the, I guess if you're looking for a goal number, it'd be 20%. But then, yeah, like James was saying, closing costs on top of that, so maybe another 2 to 5% of a purchase price on top of that. So it is a lot of money, but obviously with different products, there's different amounts that you can save up for. But really, yeah, it's as much as you possibly can, and just to factor in, you're going to be writing a deposit check. People forget about this part. You're going to be writing a deposit check if you have an offer accepted within 2 to 3 days of that offer being accepted. So we've got to have that cash on hand to go with that. But this also, it goes back to you need to speak with the lender to see what grants, what programs, anything you can qualify for that will help you with that. Because there is a lot of down payment assistance plans now. Like it is a lot different from when our parents and grandparents were buying a home. They know these lenders want to do business, so they know they have to help you with down payments. So take advantage of as much as you can and go from there.
And real quick on that point too, like it's not the same as when our grandparents or parents even bought a house. Like there are still people now that think, well, we can't pay the bank 20%, right? We won't be able to get a mortgage. It's not like that anymore. There are programs out there. There are some as low as 3% down with the bank. So very important to talk to a lender. It is going to cost a lot of money to buy a house, right? But there are some assistance options out there for you so that you don't need that. I don't know. People still assume that's a standard 20% down.
Yeah.
And there are pros and cons to whether you do or don't do that. But that is an option that you don't have to always have 20% to put down.
Yep.
But save. Save as much as you can.
Yep. Number 2. We're on number 2, James. How do interest rates...
That's only number 2?
We
worked
3.
our way backwards.
Yeah.
Whew.
We're to the top 2 now. How do interest rates affect home buying in 2025?
Well, you know what? I first of all, I would say like whatever the interest rate is today, it's probably not going to be the same next week. It's very volatile, right? It could be higher, it could be a little bit lower. But the way that affects your what's going to happen is it's going to affect your mortgage payment, right? Depending on the interest rate, when you're locked in, that's how much your mortgage payment is going to be based on. So it kind of plays a factor in everything. Like it could be one of the most critical components of whether or not you can afford a mortgage payment based on the interest rate. So that's also going back to going to a lender, super important to know what are the interest rates, what can I afford today based on that interest rate, knowing it could change, but you're going to need to know if it were to go higher, does that like tap me out? Does that mean we have to go into a lower price range of houses to look at? And oftentimes, that does mean, our maximum is $300,000, but our ability to be flexible based on if the interest rate went up is very minimal. So maybe we should bump that down and start looking at $250,000 as your max. So interest rate does have a huge factor. But again, save, and it might not play as much of a factor if you're going in with some money in your pocket.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we've been talking about this throughout, but it just comes back to that monthly charge. What are you comfortable with? What does that look like with your lifestyle? And interest rates, it's the same question, same answer, or same conversation we've been having throughout, which is the reality of this market is we're not going back to 3.
Not going to happen.
Unless something tragic has happened. Unless, I don't know, this bird flu is getting nuts.
Is swine coming back too?
I had it. It wasn't fun. But I don't think we're heading back there. So if that's what you're waiting for, You're going to be waiting a very long time.
And also, why would anyone wait for that? Like, if you know, like, it's going to take another pandemic for rates to go down, why are you sitting and saying, I'll just wait for rates to go down? Like, what do you, why would you want that to happen?
Yeah, you're going to be dealing with a lot more.
Yeah, it's gonna
Then I think buying a home is not going to be a concern at that point. If rates are that low, like,
something's wrong.
blood is running in the streets.
Yes.
So we're going to be, you need to protect your family at that point.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's also things that can help you with your interest rates if that is a big concern. Like if you have been saving up a bunch, there are ways to pay down your interest rate. There are ways to take advantage of grants and programs. Then closing, to get these types of to get money towards buying your rate down. Once again, goes back to finding a lender.
Yeah, super important, because there's even a program now where you can buy into a lower rate. I think it's for 3 years. And after the third year, on the fourth year, it's your interest rate will go back to whatever it was, the day of when you agreed to buy that lower rate. Mm-hmm. But you can also, they have options where you can refinance. And I believe in this instance, there's no charge to refinance. But again, got to go to a lender. A lot of options, and you want to make sure you get the details straight. So even though, like right now, everyone say that the rates are really, really high. Well, there are programs and services out there that can help you with that. But also, like, I want to, this is way before our time when we bought houses, right? But weren't rates like in 10s, 15s, 20%?
Yeah.
Like at one point, like way before we were around. But the reality is, in the grand scheme of things, and I was just talking to a lender about this, 7% is not that high in the grand scheme of what interest rates have been. What people are saying is high now, it's because of the 3.5% during the pandemic, which is just, again, unless, watch out for toilet paper shortages everywhere if that happens again, but it's just not going to without a pandemic. So it's like, what are we comparing it to? It's high based on 40 years ago when interest rates were 15%? Because no, now it's low. Or is it high based on that pandemic 3.5%, which is extremely unlikely to go back to again? So perspective, I guess.
And it's also something to think about, and you can do your own math at home. But if you're waiting around for the interest rate to come down, you're also, as you're waiting, the home prices are going up.
Yep.
So square that circle in your own head and do your math at home. I'm not going to do your math. I was a communication major.
Same. We're not doing math here. And to that point about home prices going up, that's not a gimmick. That's not a scare tactic. Like, you can look and see, say the house that you just saw on Zillow or whatever that your agent shared with you that you like right now, look up those same criteria, see what it cost you 2 years ago, 3 years ago, even last year. It's going to be less than what it's listed at today. Prices will really go up. Property values just continue to go up. Mm-hmm. That's the one constant. Rates are going to continue to fluctuate, but the prices are just going to steadily keep on climbing.
Yeah. James, we've made it all the way to number one. Are you ready?
I hope it's a really, really, really fun one.
I'll let you be the judge. Is 2025 a good year to buy a home? The number one question asked on Google by homebuyers.
And you know what? I'm going to start with, because I've heard this before, and I've heard the way it's answered before, and I absolutely hate it. And I told myself I'm not going to let myself, as soon as you ask that, I'm not going to let myself say that. But now is always the best time to buy. Aren't people saying that? It doesn't matter. Like, now is the best time to buy. Well, the reality is,
the best time to buy was 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. That's right. The best time to buy was 2 years ago. So now you're late. The reality is, it comes down to one, whatever you're comfortable with, right? If you're not ready right now, then no, now is not the best time to buy. And two, whatever you're comfortable with. That's what's going to determine whether or not it's the best time to buy. It's the best time to buy for you. That's what is important. Is it the best time to buy for you? So you need to be financially educated about what's going on in the market. You need to be sure that you can financially afford and sustain owning a home. Mm-hmm. And if you do have all of those things together, then yes, keep in mind, prices will continue to go up. We don't know what interest rates are going to do. So in that regard, if you're like ready, willing, and able to buy a home, then sure, of course, now is the right time to buy. If you're not, take a step back. It's okay. We'll still be here when you're ready. Mm-hmm. So yeah, none of that. 2 years ago was the right time to buy business for me, but I don't know. What do you think?
I just, any time is a better time to buy than to rent. But
renting's awful right now. Sorry to interrupt, but my God, the costs just keep going up so high with rent.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't. rent used to be cheaper than a mortgage.
Yes, much cheaper.
But now it is not. So if you can find a home that you like at the same monthly cost of renting, at least you're going to be building equity and everything like that. Yep. But yeah, it's a personal question. Just to give you kind of the context of the market locally right now. So this is Zillow's market heat index. So anything above the score of 70 is considered a strong seller's market. To give you an example, Buffalo is a 74 right now, and they were actually predicted to be the strongest market in all of the country this year. Rochester is at 146. That's a bit higher than 74.
It's just a touch.
That is an extremely high rating for a seller's market. We are on fire. It is. That's why it's difficult. So,
not the kind that'll get rates back to 3.5% fire. Like no pandemic, no issues like that. But yes, we're a hot market.
No. We have, and it just goes back to inventory. So you're going to hear about a lot from agents is that we're just scarce with inventory. We have, we're still waiting for the numbers for March, so this is just up until February. 16% less homes went on the market this year compared to last year. Just to give you kind of 5 years ago, zooming out, 2020 there was 1,200 homes that had hit the market by this time. We're in 2025. We've had less than half of that.
Isn't that insane?
It's wild.
That is just wild.
So I don't know. I keep on hearing people are like, "Oh, everybody's leaving New York in droves."
It's just not happening.
But
quite the
when?
opposite.
Who?
Yeah.
Where? Where are these people? I
know.
Where are they going? Florida?
It would be nice if they would go, so it would be easier to buy a house. But it's just not happening.
No, and people, people ask me, when is this going to change? And the honest answer is I have no idea. And if I was a betting man, I'd be like, not anytime in the near future, because it's just a simple supply and demand conversation, and we're not building supply.
It would have to take a mass exodus of people to leave this area for those homes to open up. For the amount of home buyers that are trying to find homes, it would have to take a flood of people leaving New York. What would have to happen is everyone saying that, everyone's leaving New York. That would have to actually happen for it to become easier again. And I know, people are like, well, what is causing this shortage? There's a multitude of reasons. You could blame it to COVID and construction and builds becoming slower because of costs and everything. But part of the reason that it's still, because it has slowed down a little bit in other markets, part of the reason that we are still experiencing this, and this is exclusive to the rest of the country, like this is a insanely hot market. It's because home prices here is as expensive as we think they are, and to us it is. But the national average is so much higher than what we have to pay here. And I forgot the number exactly because it does fluctuate, but I want to say we're like 30% cheaper than the national average for houses here. And if I'm wrong, I hope someone calls me out on that, but I know that we're much cheaper than the national average. Mm-hmm. So being that people aren't leaving, right? People are still coming here too, because a lot of people can work remotely now.
Yeah.
So you have people from other places coming who are like, my God, I can get a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house for $300,000. I couldn't touch something like that for under $800,000 in Arizona or wherever. So they're coming here. So we're dealing with our own market of people, our own home buyers, first-time home buyers, downsizing, etc., plus people coming into New York where they can get some land for much cheaper than anything they could ever afford in another state. So I think that has a lot to do with it too.
That perspective, it is funny to see play out online, because you'll see a house get posted from Rochester, and the people that are local, like, this is crazy that they want this amount for it. Yeah. This is wild. This is a beautiful home. And then you'll see somebody from out of town being like, what's wrong with it? Why is it priced so cheaply?
Yes.
What's going on in Rochester? Are they under attack? Why is this so cheap?
That's so true.
It is funny to see that play out. But so I think it's the same conversation we've been having throughout this whole thing, and I'm going to say it's the same conversation at least 18 more times. But is it a good year to buy a home is a personal question. It's up to you. But just going back to what we've been talking about, you need to find a good lender. You need to work with a trustworthy agent, and you need to figure out if this is the right year for you. Yeah. I think that's what it goes back to. And when we say like a good lender, I just want to say not to disparage how other people work, but I feel like at this point you need to have a lender that has no concept of a work-life balance, because this market is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
And you need to have somebody that is going to pick up the phone for you when maybe it's not super convenient, but they have an understanding if this is how this market works. And if they aren't going to answer the phone, then they need to have some type of app or process for you to get the information that you need to have, because these deals are happening at all hours of the day and you need answers as quickly as possible. So just that's something to look out for when you're doing
real
your search.
estate isn't Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
No.
Like, it's happening all the time. And this just happened with a buyer who was very, very concerned about a financial situation that happened with them. And so was the seller's agent and the sellers who found out about this situation. So the people, we can't drop names, I don't think. So
No,
the people we were working with were able to call that seller's agent and talk them through what was going to be worked out over the weekend, so that everything was smoothed over. I can't imagine, some of the bigger names, or let's just say some banks who aren't local maybe, doing that. Like, if you have that problem on a Friday night and it's an emergency situation where the seller's like, well, we're just going to back out of this, you might not have that chance before Monday morning at 9 a.m. to have anyone step into the rescue, and it might not happen anytime soon. Where the reality is that that's just not how real estate works, right? So you got to be with someone who's kind of in your pocket, right? You're on a texting basis with them. You can get a hold of them, or that they'll return your call at the very least as quickly as possible. And you might not get that with just anybody. So it really is important to work with a strong local lender who knows this market, who's going to be responsive, and who doesn't say, hey, get a hold of me again Monday morning at 9 o'clock, because too many things could go wrong in between Friday and Monday. Yeah,
so much of this just comes down to reputation. So you need to have somebody that has a good reputation, has a good rapport with agents, and just has the good experience of getting deals to close. And so listen to your agent when they tell you that you need to probably be working with somebody locally.
And it's not even because we do have people we work with that we can refer you to. It's not just based on, hey, we like these people or we know these people. Like, at the end of the day, our goal is to get your offer accepted if you're a home buyer, right? Like, we don't get paid if you don't get an offer accepted. And you're not going to be happy if we're just driving around and not kicking tires, I guess, right? Writing offers that aren't going to get accepted. So the people we put you in touch with are going to give you the best chance to get your offer accepted. So there's something to that, right? Like, you got to trust your agent. And I think when you do that, when you let the guard down and know that we're just here to help you get your offer accepted, you're going to have a much easier time. So whether that's us pointing you in the right direction of a lender, or even if you have one that you're like, oh, we must use them, like, let us, give us, let us give you an opinion, right? And just let you know what we think, and take that seriously, because that's what we're here for. I mean, we're here to help you get offers accepted, make the process easy for you, and we can help you do that.
And I know that I'm wearing a premium mortgage vest right now, but I just want to say, we don't have any financial incentive for why we recommend the people we do. We don't get kickbacks. We don't get a percentage, or whatever. Yeah. I got this vest one time, and that's great. But that's about the extent.
That's such a great point too, and I didn't know if we should bring that up, but we absolutely should, because oftentimes I'll be asked, like, well, why are you just trying to put me in touch with them? Are you getting something for this? At the end of the day, yes, being that your offer is going to get accepted. Right? Yeah. Like, if it were any other bank, I would say go here or go there if they were going to give you the best chance to get your offer accepted. But we're in the business of helping you get your offers accepted. We're a very efficient team. We're good at what we do. So that's our area of expertise. We're not getting incentives. We're not getting kickbacks. We're getting offers accepted. So that's why we're putting you in touch with the people that we recommend and that we hope you and anticipate you being comfortable with as well.
Yeah. I just want to say, with this vest, Premium didn't get me this because I worked with them on a specific home. Yeah. They got me this because they knew I'd be an amazing model for them, and that this would really move some units for them.
But I got to get a vest now.
Should get a vest. You've got to talk to somebody over there.
It looks comfortable. It looks not too much life jackety. It looks
Yeah.
keeps you warm, but also cool and casual with the.
Yeah, there's a certain age where you hit as a white man that you have to be wearing a vest at all times.
At all times.
I've hit that. I don't know if it's when you get 2 kids, you have to get the vest, but it happens. So that's why we started this podcast, is to reach out to local lenders in town to see how many of them would get us vests.
Yeah.
So if you're listening.
That's right. If you want us to start name dropping more, we'll accept your vest.
Balls in your court, GRB. James, do we have anything else you want to talk about? I think we got it.
Yeah, we got it. This was a lot of fun, and whoever's listening, thank you. And I hope this helps inform some decisions you make. And of course, we're here to help you and talk to you, even if it's just offer advice.
Yeah, I'd say if you have questions about real estate, I wouldn't go to Google.
No.
I would go to an agent. It doesn't have to be us. It probably should be, since you're listening to our podcast. It'd be super weird if you're like, hey, I love listening to their podcast, but I hate to work with them.
Yeah.
You're a weird person. But you should speak to an agent, because national versus local news, it's a gigantic difference, especially here in Rochester, where this is one of a kind,
we're an
insane
anomaly.
market.
We really are an anomaly. In the rest of the country, our market is so abnormal.
Yeah. All right, James. That's James Ashbery. You can look him up, AnthonyButeraTeam.com, if you want to get in touch with him. My name's Shane Allen. Thanks for listening to the Rochester Real Estate Show. Make sure you go and like and subscribe, and whatever the other kids say, smash that button.
Go ahead and hit that like.
We're on the YouTubes, and we got Facebook and Instagram, and
social medias.
I don't know if TikTok's still legal, but maybe we'll start one of those.
Maybe. Is it still legal? I don't even know.
I think they fixed that. I don't know.
They did.
I don't know.
Who knows? There's a lot going on right now.
That's what's important.
Thank you.
See you guys.